This is the Long Hill Report. I'm Richard Morchoe, reporter and columnist and book reviewer for the Sturbridge Times Town and Country Living magazine. And today we have with us Alexandra McNitt, Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce South. Well, it's an involved name, so we're going to let her tell you the name, her exact function, and the towns that you cover. And
Sure, happy to. So our legal name is Central Mass South, the Chamber at the Crossroads of New England, but we're commonly known as the Chamber of Central Mass South. And we cover Charlton, Sturbridge, Southbridge, Spencer, all the Brookfields, Brimfield, Warren, Holland, and Wales. We dabble a little bit in northern Connecticut. We don't really pursue businesses there, but some businesses in Connecticut come to us because they want access to our membership up here. And the member that is furthest away from us is in Michigan.
that is interesting.
And they are a member of ours. They run the Country Folk Art Craft Show at the Sturbridge Host. Twice a year, usually. A couple of times they've only done it one year, but it's always the weekend after Thanksgiving. And for their membership fee of $295, the amount of additional advertising we can give them, inclusive of that, is like the cheapest advertising buck that you can get. So they're very happy to be members of ours, and we love helping them draw an audience.
Well, then that makes real sense for them to do that, to be part of you. So we expect to hear that you're going even further afield, maybe something in Iowa, maybe.
Well, we wouldn't say no to them, but we really aren't pursuing them.
I see.
So we have all we can handle
point.
with 12 communities. That's a lot of territory to cover.
Okay.
Most of our members are in Southbridge, Sturbridge, Charlton, and then kind of further afield. But we are a membership organization, a not-for-profit. Some people that aren't familiar with chambers of commerce think that we might be some sort of government agency. We're not at all.
No.
We're totally a membership organization. Our role is to serve the business community. About 80% of our members are small businesses, sole proprietors with 1, 2, or 3 employees. They're the biggest reason why they come to us is for our networking opportunities.
With the other businesses in the area.
Exactly.
How would you break down the businesses, like the restaurant businesses? What kind of businesses are working with you?
So we definitely have restaurants, the hotels, so the retail shops in the area, some of the outdoor activities or even indoor activities like your bogey lanes and so forth. And those would comprise our tourism sector. So we have certain activities that we do that are just for that sector. But we also have a lot of manufacturers. Virtually all of the local banks are members of ours. And I could tell you a lot about our local banks. They are amazing what they do for our community. We have a number of nonprofits in the area that as the competition for donor dollars has increased, nonprofits are finding that they need to be out there actively networking more and more to cultivate those relationships and try to bring those donor dollars in. So they've been turning to chambers for that. We have professions and services, your real estate agencies, your CPAs, and so forth. All of the towns in our catchment are automatically members of our chamber. But some of their different departments are very active with us. So Margaret Morrissey at the Southbridge Library and Becky Plimpton from the Sturbridge Library, they're very active with us. And that's kind of nice to see. So we get involvement from the local towns as well.
Do you work at all with the hospital, Harrington?
Quite a lot. They are big supporters of ours, and recently they were advocating for a vote no on question 1 at the November election, and our chamber's board supported that position, and we are actively partnering with them to kind of advocate for that position. One of their members, one of their senior team leaders is a member of our board of directors. And they support us through a lot of different events and activities.
That's good. A new business that's been coming around, mushrooming, shall we say, in the Sturbridge area. And it's, in a way, I probably don't want to talk too loud about this, dear to my heart, are the breweries.
Yeah.
Are you involved? Are they with you?
We have some of the breweries. Rapscallion has been a member since they opened up in Sturbridge. Cedric Daniel and his brother own it. They are wonderful partners of ours. We've had some events up there. They're always really popular. And the beer is awesome. Yeah, I love that red ale.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yes. And then Altruist opened up in the Millyard building.
In the mill, yeah.
And it's such a cute little space.
Yes, it is.
And that is totally a passion project for the 3 owners. It's a husband and wife and a friend of theirs that are the owners of that place. So we did their official grand opening and ribbon cutting. One of the largest crowds we've had for a ribbon cutting. It was very popular.
Yeah.
Back in January, it was awesome. I don't know. I think maybe it's the beer that draws people in.
Don't go out on a limb there, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, the one in the Treehouse. Right?
Treehouse, that's an interesting case. They have told us that they want to be members, but if you can imagine this, they're like, we don't need any more people coming to our place. They're so busy. They're just, and you really, those 4 partners, a lot of people don't realize them, and they're just thinking, wow, they're making so much money, and they are. But the owners are working 90 and 100 hours a week, week after week after week. There's just no let up for them.
The horrible traffic there too. I mean,
yeah.
So we might have to put a stoplight there if it gets any.
Yeah, it's I know that the police are watching it carefully, and it's a tricky spot because people do fly on that section of Route 20, and when you come over that crest of that hill, you don't have a lot of time to respond, and Treehouse has an international following at this point.
I remember when it was really a Treehouse.
Yeah.
The place across the street from it, is that a member, Zorba?
Zorba's is a member, yep.
He must be happy.
Not happy.
No, really?
No, she's not so happy. And partly because of the traffic problems that it does cause, and people, they're supposed to take a right-hand turn, but what they're doing is they're taking a right-hand turn, getting in the left-hand lane, and then peeling out in her driveway to turn around, which is not safe, and it's so she's not happy by that.
So it is a bit of a problem.
It's a challenge. Yeah.
Well, okay. So going from beer, I know Lester's not part of your.
No, not at all.
And but just a little up the street, I assume we're not going to be having. You don't know if keeping your ear to the ground, we're going to have anything in the Sturbridge, Brookfields area, Spencer area.
In terms of a marijuana dispensary?
Yeah, what we're talking about is marijuana. Yeah.
Well, I think at some point it's coming. I know that they are building right now on Route 20 in Sturbridge a medical marijuana dispensary in front of the old Galileo building where All Star is. That building across from CNR Tire, that building is going to be a medical marijuana dispensary. And from what I understand of the law, it sounds to me like once you have the approvals for doing that, it's somewhat easy to to then create a retail component. So it wouldn't surprise me if that were to happen there.
I would take it the chamber doesn't express an opinion on that.
Well, our board has actually talked about it a fair amount. We haven't taken a particular opinion. One of the things that a lot of our businesses are talking and expressing with us are concerns around safety, particularly as it in regards to the businesses that have people who are transporting either objects or people, and having a way to make sure that they're doing that in a sober capacity.
Yeah,
and not being able to test for that is something that is frightening, frankly, for employers who are responsible for transporting other people, which we have a lot of in this area.
yeah, the resolving the problem of intoxication is going to be the big thing. I mean, the state has never been able to suppress the use of marijuana.
Right.
So, is this the best of both worlds? Is this the compromise we make? And
well, the cat's kind of out of the bag because it's.
Quite
I mean,
so.
they've they've made it legal. I mean, people are driving drunk on the road too,
Yeah.
and there should be harsh penalties for people who are doing that. And so our position is kind of, you know, if it's legal, then you ought to be following the absolute letter of the law. You know, hopefully there will be some mechanism for being able to reliably and fairly evaluate if somebody is intoxicated by marijuana somewhere soon down the road, for the sake of those employers who have challenges. At the same time, if we have businesses that are opening up, some of the conversation that our board has been having is, if it's a legal business and they're following all the rules, then we're a membership organization for the business community. Mm-hmm. And kind of the upside of those businesses is they do represent a lot of money being brought back in taxes to those communities. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of our towns in this area could really use that money.
True.
The school systems are just, I mean, the state funding formula has not kept pace with the needs of the schools for decades. And so they've been funded on the backs of the residents. And, you know, we're at a breaking point. So I think that's part of the reason why there's so much support for this is, you know, it comes down to dollars and cents.
yeah, it was not taxed before, and
Right.
it was there. Nobody denies that it wasn't there.
Right.
But it's also, you know, this is getting away from Chamber of Commerce stuff, but it's, if you remember when the lottery first came in. You know,
I don't remember that actually.
okay. The young lady here, half my age, really knows how
Sorry.
how to hurt a guy.
It just seems like it's always existed.
Oh, I don't know that. I remember because I
But it's legalized gambling. I mean,
Yeah.
it's no.
Well, I was, when I was driving a cab in Boston back when they were horse-drawn, thank you, Al. Anyway, they had a numbers game that was played by basically the proletariat.
Right.
People, working class stiffs. And it was a 3-digit number. And in the Record American, they would have the treasury balance on the sports pages. Now, why do you think? Because the 3-digit number was the last 3 digits of the treasury balance.
Okay.
And then they legalized it. And yeah, we made money. The state made money. And it's a big cash cow. But a lot of people who didn't know about gambling before now knew about gambling. So are a lot of people who didn't toke, remembering from my college years, what the word they used, I had nothing to do with this, kids. They now going to take it up. And this is
possible.
Scares me. But Now, speaking about where that is on Route 20, where that's going to be,
Right.
Route 20 leads to Brimfield. Is Brimfield one of your towns?
Brimfield is one of our towns.
And what is the most famous thing that happens in Brimfield? Is that, are you big with that? Is
We are very big with that. The
Tell-
Brimfield Antiques and Collectibles Show. That is another huge boon for our region. The money that our area makes on that is just not even funny. And so the May, it's 3 times a year. There's a week in May, a week in July, and a week in September.
Yeah.
The May shows are always the busiest. We will sell out of every single hotel room in the area, and in May for sure. In September, sometimes. In July, not so much. It can be hard to get a room. But for the May shows, we will start calling all of our hotel members about 3 weeks beforehand and check the availability for every single day during the shows. And then we keep checking in with them as those rooms get depleted. And because people know to call our office, people from around the country, a lot of New Yorkers, just a staggering number of New Yorkers. But they know to call us to find out where they can get a room for 1, 2, 3 nights. And so we will make sure that all of the rooms are filled locally first. And then we are sending people out into Worcester, certainly for the May shows. But we also have an information booth that we staff there with the help of our membership. Our members volunteer to be there to welcome people to the shows.
I think I've seen you there, haven't I?
Yeah, we're right there on the corner of 19 and 20. And, you got to keep in mind, a little town of 3,600 people swells to about 250,000 people for that week of the May shows, many of whom have never been there before. They've only heard about it, and so they drive up, get out of their car, and then they're like a deer in headlights, like, what do I do? And they just have no idea what they've just done to themselves. And so we calm them down, tell them how to approach the show, maybe sell them a collectible T-shirt. We design a new T-shirt every year.
We're talking to Alexandra McNitt, camp counselor.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's a lot of fun. The Brimfield shows are a lot of fun.
I'm not an antiques person. My wife is kind of, but I'm not an antiques person. But I am fascinated by the place. I'm more a food person.
Right.
So I also love to see the different food vendors there, which is also, you wouldn't expect that would be also an attraction there.
Yeah.
But it is.
It is. It is. It's the best people watching ever. And you see people carting off things, and you just scratch your head wondering what they are going to do with it. But you also, you read in the paper every once in a while that someone bought a painting for $15,000 that's worth millions. And there have been all sorts of finds there that, and you see some of the antique celebrities and stuff, the Kino brothers and the antique
Roadshow? The Roadshow?
not Antique Roadshow, Antique Flip or something like that. So different people will broadcast from there. So people kind of get a thrill out of that sort of thing. And we see that all from our booth right on the corner there. So it's a lot of fun. And we recommend our local restaurants and send people on their way to dump as much of their wallet as we can. That's our mission. Spend, spend, spend.
I remember seeing 3 women there, each had an identical T-shirt. Peace, love, and junk.
So they were living the dream.
They were living the dream. And yeah, it's you meet people there. There's a million story. Remember, there was, I think David Susskind produced this show back in the 50s, The Naked City. And it would open with, there are a million stories in the Naked City. There are a million stories in the well-clothed antique show.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm looking at places, and it's a shop. They've actually set up a store
Right.
It's almost a department store, and it's fascinating, but it's also insane at the same time.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those dealers actually do have antique shops, and the horse trading that's going on, a lot of them are buying from one another to bring back to their shops.
I do know that because of that article I told you I wrote.
Sure.
I took a picture of a woman who was buying something from another shop. So, where does it eventually go? Is it fun just to be in the antiques, or do you actually making money? I don't know.
I don't know. I just know I got a couple of wrought iron scroll leaf things that looked like butterfly wings to me one year, and so I brought those home and painted them, and then got some scrap wood and made a body of a butterfly, and then took a couple of coat hangers and made some antenna. So I have a 3-foot by 5-foot butterfly on the peak of my barn now. That's pretty cool, actually. So you never know what you're going to find there.
So we're talking to another satisfied customer
Yes.
here.
Cost me $40.
So, okay, and we expect to see you selling there next year too. No,
Exactly. Yeah, right.
It's hard to tell you the players from the spectators there, I guess.
Yeah.
And leading into that, to another subject is, it was a new addition to the hotel business. In the one it had been a hotel before.
Right.
But then it was an older hotel, and they closed, and all of a sudden a new palace has been erected.
Yeah, it's quite a place.
Yeah, you want to talk about the hotel business in Sturbridge?
Sure.
And anywhere else there's a hotel.
Sure. So Sturbridge is really fortunate to, part of what makes Sturbridge work so well is that they are at the crossroads of New England, that they have that highway access. So with the Sturbridge Host Hotel, which has enormous conference space.
Yes.
And then you've got the Public House, which has just added on their Tillier building. So now, they've gone from being a restaurant that had some hotel rooms to being a real hotel with a wonderful restaurant and bake shop.
Yeah.
And so that's a game changer for them. And then this Holiday Inn Express, I'll tell you, Jay Patel, who owns that, he was a victim of some pretty bad timing, because he had owned the Best Western, which was what was there previously, and he had intended to shut that down and build a new hotel. That had been his intent all along. But when he had decided to do that, that's when the market crashed. And so, financing for that sort of an endeavor collapsed for several years. So it took him a while to get it, to get that deal done. But now he's got a beautiful hotel on that corner. If you've gone inside, it's really, really very nice.
That's the Holiday Inn Express.
The Holiday Inn Express.
Well,
and then he's putting a Panera in, and there's going to be another retail space that's part of that is yet to be identified who. And then he's hoping to put a third pad in back of that.
Well, I lived there in 1993.
Did you?
There was a big storm. We had to leave our house, and we went there. And my wife was pregnant. We had to get into Worcester to the memorial to give birth, and it was and I had used to joke as a cab driver, "Oh, I delivered it." No, I don't want to. But we always say we lived there, but we were there for a few days till the power came back on.
Right.
That was fun.
Yeah.
But one more, we can't have you here without talking. Is the village part of the chamber?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And
we can't not get we have to get something out of you about the village.
Village, what's to say? The village is awesome. I've always thought so. I'm from here. You know that. I grew up in Woodstock, and so the village has always been a favorite of mine. I'm also kind of a history nut. So the village will tell you that the average stay of visitors there is between 2 and 3 hours. And I like to joke that I'm well above average because I've gone there so many times and I can keep going back.
Yeah.
And I spend hours there. You know, you just go to the blacksmith shop and start talking to the guys in there, and you can be there for a long time. It's fascinating.
As a child, that was so entrancing to me. I think that they might have had to kick me out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was big. And also they printed a newspaper.
Yep.
And you know, that was fascinating
Yeah.
too.
To see how they did that with the, you know, those big thumpers things. And so it's, you know, it's a very special place. They have some amazing events. I remember the first time I went to see Redcoats and Rebels, which is one of their summer events. This is the largest reenactment in New England that happens. And when I went, I arrived just at the time that the soldiers were mustering for their parade, and they muster in chronological order. So as I was as I was walking up, I had just entered through the visitor center, and I'm walking up that hill towards the common, and I was literally walking backwards in time through the soldiers. And I must have had a grin on my face from ear, because you could see all these, with them chronologically set up like that, you could see the subtle differences of their equipment and uniforms and stuff. It was, oh, I had so much fun that day.
The wonderful thing about that is they also have redcoats, you know.
Right.
We're a little dicey with that. I mean, they were the enemy.
Right.
But they also had American loyalist companies. Right. And one of them marched in front of every halted, turned right, and one of them said, "I'm here from the government and I'm here to help you." But to write my article for the Sturbridge Times, Town and Country Living magazine, which was then the Sturbridge Times magazine, I involved people in conversation, and one of the kids who was one of the loyalists, I said, and he was a young kid, "How's it feel to be a traitor?" And he defended his position well. "No, our king is the rightful," you know, and he went through what it is, and he did a very good job.
Right.
It was a wonderful event, and they have all kinds of wonderful events like that.
They do. The Christmas by Candlelight. They've got a craft beer, if you like beer. They have a craft beer festival in June. And actually, Michael Arnhem told me just a couple days ago that that's going to become a 2-day festival this year. So that's something to look forward to.
I know we can make a few jokes. The first day, and is the second day getting better? Or,
It's bound to be. But they've also got the school going there now.
Oh, yes, that is a wonderful idea.
And so, and I've actually, I was at a presentation when they did the ribbon cutting on their solar field, and we went back and we were engaging with some of their students. It was a real eye opener, because they have a completely different approach.
That's great.
With those kids, and part of what they instill in the kids very early on is part of what they get graded on is their enthusiasm for answering and being engaged. And so when someone asks a question, every single one of them, their hands are up right away, and they're like competing with each other. They're so eager to be involved, and they were adorable, absolutely adorable, and engaged, and it's good to see. I think the kids there are going to be thriving.
I certainly hope so. I can think of few places that would be better to go to school.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
You know, they get practical hands-on lessons on the campus there too. It's very neat. I love it. I wish I could have done that.
You are not the only one.
Yeah.
Really. Well, I mean, I had the Sisters of St. Joseph hitting my finger when I made a mistake. So, you know, I would certainly, but, you know.
Right. Yeah, I think this is a very different kind of experience. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're getting towards the end.
Sure.
And thank you very much for coming. This has been an excellent time.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely.
So this is the Executive Director of the Chamber, Alexandra McNitt, and I'm again Richard Morchoe, your reporter for the Long Hill Report. We have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe, the Long Hill Report. Thank you very much. Glad to see you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.